Hello and welcome again to those of you who've logged on, and welcome to call it episode 4, Contractor Management, regarding Health and Safety and Health and Safety at Work Act. If you have a question, feel free to pop it into the little chat box, question box there. We'll endeavour to answer it today, but if not, we'll certainly send out the answers to all attendees as we go along. So just a little bit of our background again, R&G Health and Safety Coaching. Health and safety has been part of my business since about 2003, but more importantly since the inception of the new Health and Safety at Work Act. Our clients have achieved over 1 million hours of zero harm, so that's a zero lost time injury, and obviously that has both commercial and other positive effects on staff and businesses. And our team here has about 40 odd years experience amongst us to draw upon. So we're just really going to talk today briefly about why do we have contractor management, some basic information about documentation, how you can record some of it, why it needs to be monitored. So it's not just about doing but the paperwork, some reporting information, and the question about what happens if a client refuses to cooperate. We'll talk about one of your contractors here. So we need contractor management. So from a practical point of view, is that you need to know that contractors are doing what they say they're going to do. And that's really important, as you'll see later on in some of the examples, and that is that we're all very good at spending some time writing up some documents, putting them on the shelves or sending them out, but in fact not doing anything with them and failing to actually enact what we were going to do. The WorkSafe are very clear, and people have been prosecuted for doing some documentation, including contractors, and then providing no evidence that anything was actually done. So through a contractor management process, if you're using contractors, it says you're setting the precedence on what your expectations of behaviour are while they're on your site or working with you. It also ensures that contractors, as part of the process, have their own implemented health and safety processes. It's actually a requirement, Section 35 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 2015 requires PCBUs, people conducting a business or undertaking, to employ people and contractors, in particular others who are compliant with the Act. So what we have is a very simple process for reporting and recording contractor behaviour or contractor information on our system. And the system we've got a document there called the activity report. Now it does a whole lot of functions, as you can see from the top there, and you can utilise it for even basic contractor management. So you could use it if you've had a meeting with a contractor and explaining what your expectations are, or they're explaining to you what you do. So just check the meeting and record it. Really important that anything legal in particular, or any questioning from WorkSafe or other enforcement agencies, if it's not written down, it hasn't happened. So you can talk to your contractor and explain some things to them. If something goes wrong and they turn around and say you didn't speak to them about it, it didn't happen. So you can use this very simple form to monitor any kind of information or contact you have with your contractors. And just hold that on file, and that provides a very good evidential base that you actually did talk about it. You can add photos or drawings. So you'll find this within your system, and you frequently use documents, and it's called the activity report and event report. So it doesn't need to be detailed, just who, what, where and how you talked about. So monitoring of contractors is it's pretty self-explanatory, really. And the purpose of monitoring is to ensure that any potential risks that the contractor may bring onto your site. So if you're a builder and you have other contractors, they will bring other risks. The old Health and Safety Act and others, they talk about hazards and so on. You can spend a great deal of time writing up lists and lists and lists of hazards. But what we're really concerned about, what really is important, is there a risk that they bring to what you're currently doing? So there's a builder, for example, and all the staff working inside the building, and the fencing contractors outside, nowhere near anybody. They're not bringing a risk to individuals, just as an example. So we're really wanting to understand what risks they bring. So what are the things that they bring that can harm themselves or others that needs to be managed or monitored? And again, while you're monitoring them in a practical kind of way where you can, is just, again, you're setting that precedence and you're setting the standards of behaviour. But it's the old adage of, it's do as I do, not necessarily as I say. So people very quick to say, well, look, you've told me to do this and you don't do it yourself. So if it was wearing toe protected footwear on a site and you're asking everybody else to do it, I think it's a reasonable expectation that you demonstrate the behaviour that you're looking for, just as set some examples. So people have often asked us in contracting, who has the right to monitor contractor activities? Well, as the officer or the leading PCBU, you have the right to monitor any behaviours that are on your worksite. You can ask somebody to monitor that behaviour on your behalf. But more importantly, what isn't well known is even a member of the public can see something going on a site they've seen as creating high risk. They can pick up the phone, report it to WorkSafe, and WorkSafe would then follow it up. So the best way to manage that behaviour is to constantly, where you can, monitor their behaviour. And if their behaviour isn't quite to your standard, ensure that they understand what it is you're wanting and to follow those standards. Recently, a very large building corporation organisation was shut down for 2 weeks because some of the contractors didn't have health and safety processes and weren't behaving in a way that WorkSafe liked. So WorkSafe shut down the whole site. So no work could be done until such time as that everybody was able to demonstrate they were up to speed and were going to do things appropriately. That's why it's useful to do safety audits or some sort of audit process or checking process at different times during the progress of any contract. Now, that activity report we look at further, if it's a short-term contract, minor contract, you use that form for filling out and so I visited a site on such and such a date and this is what I observed and it was all good. Then you can record that as that you had no concerns. Some larger sites and longer sites within the system that you have on the online system, there's some more detailed audit processes. A one-pager and there's another one that's about 3 pages where you just tick all the various bits and pieces that you've checked up on. So for small stuff, simple checks, you can use the activity report. Larger projects that you might want to use the more formal report. Again, you can give that to somebody else to fill out on your behalf. So what happens is an instance if a contractor refuses to cooperate. Now this becomes or can become tricky. The law is the law and that's one thing. But also realise that at times there are deadlines and other processes that need to be completed. What you need to absolutely understand is that they are operating outside of the law. And then you, as the lead, as the principal officer, have to make a decision whether you're prepared to carry that risk. If something was to go wrong, or an inspection by WorkSafe, and they were looking at the behaviour of a contractor and it was not according to the law or according to the basic rules, not only would that contractor get prosecuted, the person who employed them could also be prosecuted for failing to ensure that contractors do cooperate. Now, most contractor agreements now have fairly simple clauses in them regarding health and safety, and that if they fail to adhere to the required health and safety practices, their contract can be terminated immediately, and they can't get any compensation for that. That interestingly also applies to workers, to employed staff. Any breaches of the Health and Safety at Work Act 2015 are considered to be serious misconduct and have very severe penalties. If a contractor was doing something you thought was particularly risky and you told them to stop, you could use the activity report to write that up. They have to cease work until such time as that problem you have is remediated to your satisfaction. They cannot make any claims for compensation for any downtime and so on. So if you just our base package information, if you're not one of our clients, is it's $85 plus GST for 1 to 9 employees, or $8.99 plus GST annually, or greater than 10. We provide all the documentation, implementation strategies, and assist you with monitoring and ensuring that people understand what they do need to do. But even the smallest of businesses, even sole traders, if they have contractors or utilise contractors, or maybe be a contractor, they have specific requirements under the Act to fulfil. Within the system, we have a document within our system called Contractor Management Policies and Procedures. It's not onerous. It shouldn't need to be onerous, but it does need to be recorded. And here's just an example of how, when it goes wrong, how it can go horribly wrong. And this is related to a case in Auckland where a worker was on a rubbish collection vehicle. The vehicle crashed through lack of maintenance on the truck, and one of the workers was killed. And when you look at the prosecution by WorkSafe and the outcome, the lead contractor who let out the contract was the Auckland City Council. They were fined as the lead contractor for failing to take all reasonably practical steps to ensure that their contractor vehicles and all that were up to standard. The contractor didn't have processes in place. They had documents, but didn't have processes in place to ensure the vehicle was safe at all times. The leasing company that leased the vehicle to the contractors were also prosecuted. So what ended up happening is there was $200 and something like $1,000 worth of fines, and they were shared amongst them all in various degrees, 25 to 35%. But what it does demonstrate is that when employing contractors, you have the absolute responsibility to ensure that they do what they say they're going to do, and to have processes in place to ensure that you're monitoring them and understanding what they're doing. Providing a piece of paper once a year to say, follow our instructions will not stand the test of time and will not stand court scrutiny. So the links on there, you can just cut and paste that into the browser and you can read more detail. But so there was the person the Auckland City Council, who put the contract out, and then the contractors and subcontractors, and all parties were prosecuted. So following this presentation, you'll receive a copy of the slides we've used and an emailing out to some next steps processes. Feel free to join us next week, which we'll be talking about risk management, so how to manage risk. And the point around there, just make quickly, is that the new Health and Safety Act is risk focused rather than hazard focused. So remember that wherever you are is where the risk is, and that's what we need to manage. If you have employees or contractors, they need to understand wherever they are is where the risk is, and that's what needs to be managed. We're not required to manage stuff that we can't manage or beyond our control to manage, but there certainly is a requirement to do that. But feel free to give us a call at any time if you have any further questions. And as I said, a copy of this webinar will be sent out to you to listen again if you wish, and some information. And feel free to contact us at any time if you have any further questions. And once again, thank you for taking some time to gain further information on how the Health and Safety at Work Act impacts on what you do on a daily basis. Thanks again.